Hi, my name is Andy Mallet, and this is Glimmer DSL for SWT tutorial number 34. Today we're going to go through a very small and simple sample. It's Hello Refined Table. This is one of the newest sample additions to Glimmer DSL for SWT. There has been an issue request for a table widget that could do pagination and filtering out of the box. So that has been added in the form of a new custom widget called Refine Table. And Hello Refine Table is the sample that demonstrates it. So let's get started by launching it. As you can see, we have a table that contains a bunch of like a baseball game schedule, a bunch of baseball games, and they're paginated. So we landed on page 1 of 118, and if we want to look into more baseball games, we can just click next, next, next. And as you can see, the date is advancing the more I'm clicking next. And then I can click back if I want, and even click first page to go to the first page, and click last page to go to the last page. In short, this sample app is just building, a fictional baseball schedule that begins, on 2022 4/1, and it ends on 2022 9/30, and it's basically enabling us to check out all the games. And supposedly, if I click on a game and I right click and book, I can actually book it. It's only happening in memory right now. It's just a sample. So the key features of this refined table widget is that not only does it support pagination, as you already saw, but it also supports filtering. So for example, I can click on the filtering field and type in Wrigley for Wrigley Field, and I get all the games that are happening at Wrigley Field. So as you can see, the dates are different dates. The away teams are different away teams, but the home team is the Chicago Cubs, which is the team that has Wrigley Field as their own ballpark. Another example of this is, let's just say I type in Red Sox. That now gives me all the Red Sox games, whether they're home games or away games. So whether they're in Fenway Park or somewhere else like Progressive Field, I'm going to get all the games. And again, I can browse through them. Refined Table is a very, very convenient widget because it gives me all of those features out of the box. So that means I can, save a lot of time in building an app that relies on it. And instead of coding the pagination and filtering manually, now they're coding for me automatically. And I can just move on and implement business rules and be more productive. By the way, one thing about pagination is you can enter a number here directly. So suppose I go back to just 118 pages. That's a lot of pages for me to navigate by this button. So if I want, I can just jump to page 50 like that, and I hit enter, and it takes me to page 50. Or I can do, I can clear the whole field if I want, doesn't matter. So I type in 100, I hit enter, it takes me to 100 out of 118. So it's a very user-friendly widget. And to go back to the concept of custom widgets, I mentioned in the past that custom widgets are usually either a specialization for a specific widget, like for example red label, like making sure that every time I use a red label it's always red, uh, or it's an aggregation of multiple widgets. And this is a case. This case is a case of aggregation, or the third case is basically brand new non-native widgets based on Canvas. Like let's just say I'm building a custom widget that can display a UML diagram. That would be a brand new concept built using Canvas graphics. So this is the second case, which is an aggregation of multiple widgets. So as you can see, we have a basic table here. And then above it, we have this composite that has 4 buttons, and then it has a text field. And then at the top, there is another text field, which is just the filter or the search field. So this is a very good example of a custom widget. So let's dive into the code. So we have hello refined table here as a class. It has a bunch of models defined underneath, like baseball team, baseball game, baseball season. But suppose we move beyond that for this second. What you'll see here is basically we're including Glimmer UI application, meaning we're defining an application. And this is just a synonym or an alias for custom window, meaning we have a window that's customized with its own content. And then we're initializing the baseball season as a model in the before body, but then once we build the body of the app, this is the GUI of the body of the app. So we start with a shell, meaning a window, with a title of hello refined table, and then right away we're dumping into it a refined table widget. We're making it editable, so these are editable. So that's one thing I did not demonstrate, meaning I can go here and let's just say change the away team to some other team, and I just edited the game. And it has a border. You usually want that. When you add a new custom SWT style like editable, you usually want to add other default styles that usually would have been there by default, like border. And then the per page specifies how many rows per page we want to see. So right now we're seeing 20 rows per page. So this is customizable. You can customize it to 10 rows per page, for example, or something different. Also, you can pass a page option. It defaults to 1 if you don't pass it, but you can pass a page option if you want to start the view on a different page. And then the rest of it is basically you use refined table exactly like table. So everything you learned about table applies here. You simply declare table columns. If they're editable, you provide an editor, like the editor type. Like here we want a date dropdown for the date. This one is not editable, so you say editor none. This one is a combo box that is read-only, meaning you cannot type your own options. You can only select an option. This is also a combo box, so to demonstrate, here's the date. So as you can see, the date gives me a calendar. And then this one is not editable, so I cannot do anything here. This one lets me pick a new home team. So, if I were to pick the Cardinals, you can see it automatically change the ballpark to Busch Stadium. And then this one you already saw, I can pick a different away team as well, also with a drop down, a combo box. Menu lets you specify a menu that will get triggered if I right click anywhere on the table. If I right click here, I get this menu and it has only one item, book, and when I click it, it'll just pop up a message box that will tell me you booked the game. So there you go. And it figures out which game from the selected game attribute on the model, which we'll look into how it was data bound in a second. Finally, the key part is that in refined table, instead of data binding to items, which are the total table items that you're seeing right now, you want to data bind to model array instead. Model array is the master collection of models that is used for all pages of the table. So if you were to bind to items, it'll only bind to this page. So meaning you're only populating the first page. We don't want to do that. We want to populate the entire collection and then let the refined table do its own pagination. So if you do that, then when you move between pages, the refined table widget will automatically data bind to its own items on the table for every page when you paginate into it. Or it'll do it once and it'll automatically work correctly, but these are all automated details that you shouldn't concern yourself with. So the only difference from data binding a refined table is that you want to data bind to a model array, which is the master model array, not the items. And here the rest of the syntax is the same as table data binding. So I'm data binding to the games on the baseball season. And then as far as columns, automatically by convention, it'll pick the columns. So ballpark will map to ballpark over here, and it'll map to a ballpark lowercase underscored attribute on the model. Date will work the same way. Home team and away team are customized because I have a space here. Sorry, that's not it. Even if there was a space, it would have mapped to home underscore team on the model by convention. In this case, actually, we're mapping it to home team name and away team name, which are different from home team and away team. So that's why we had to do a manual mapping of those two. So we did customization. So whenever you need to configure, you can configure your own names, but in general, it works by convention. And then finally here, we data bind selection. This is just exactly like table data binding. We're data binding a selected game. So that ensures that when I click here or here, sorry, here, whenever you select a game, that's the one that becomes the selected game. That way, when I right click and hit book, it'll know which game was selected, and it'll announce it, like Cincinnati Reds versus Philadelphia Phillies, which is what we're seeing here on the screen in the selected row. So that's pretty much it for the GUI. That's all. It works exactly like table, and that was the whole design goal behind Refine Table, is to make the widget as similar as possible to table, so that when you're using it, you don't concern yourself with any extraneous details. You just build a table, but you prefix it with refined, and you can customize the per page value if you want, but other than that, the rest works exactly like in table. Beyond, like model array, using model array instead of items. That's pretty much it. I mean, the rest is just standard stuff. These models are prepared in the same way that we prepared model for hello table. So hello table was showing only a few rows per screen full, like per screen. Here we're showing a lot of rows because we're building an entire season. So this is a simulation of a full season, from like 2022, 410 or whatever, 41. I mean, whatever. I just picked a date all the way till the end. One thing I forgot to show you actually is sorting. Sorting also works on the entire collection in Refine Table. So if I sort by ballpark, now I can see all games that are in American Family Field. I can move in. Now it's all Angel Stadium. I can go to the last page. Now it's all Wrigley Field. Or I can sort by team. That'll show me, for example, now all the Toronto Blue Jays games. Or I can go to the first page, and now it's Arizona Diamondbacks, etc. So sorting also works on the entire collection, which is great. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, I'm just building all the baseball teams that are available in the major leagues. We have a few extra convenience methods for building a full name from town and name, etc. But otherwise, and then we have a baseball game. The baseball game has a bunch of attributes like home team name options. So the options are what shows up when I click on an away or home team and get the drop down. So these are all the available options. And by convention, Glimmer DSL for SWT will pick them for you from this method with the underscore options suffix. And then I have the same thing for away team, and then I have a ballpark and a date, and I have a bunch of attributes defined here in a struct as well in the super class, the definition of this class. And then finally, there's a baseball season. It'll build all the games for the season. It has just a sort of an algorithm that will take all combinations of different teams and randomize them, and based on a randomization, it'll build the schedule. It's not exactly realistic. It's not usually you have series, meaning you might have 3 games in a row, 4 games in a row, etc. We don't take care of that here, but I mean, this is just a simulation. It's just a GUI demonstration. It's not even about the models. But the models work well enough to let us data bind to games, all of the games of the season, and then for every game, automatically by convention, we'll pick the ballpark and date, and then for the other attributes, we map them from home team name and away team name to home team and away team. And that's pretty much it for Refine Table. In order to learn more about Glimmer DSL for SWT, check out the GitHub project.